even with AI coding tools running in your editor every single day. Take a look at a typical developer's calendar. Blocks of time reserved for writing API endpoints. Wiring up authentication middleware. Scaffolding test files. Setting up config boilerplate. This is what experienced engineers are still doing in 2024. Now look at the other side. Here is Copilot, doing exactly what it promises. You start typing. A suggestion appears. You hit tab and accept it. One line. Done. Copilot completed a single line of a function you still had to think about, set up and wire together by hand. That gap right there, between the promise of AI tooling and the reality of your actual workflow, that gap is enormous. The tools got smarter. The workflow did not. Something fundamentally bigger has shifted. The intern versus the contractor. On the left, picture your typical AI assistant. On the right, an agentic workflow. Copilot, a single ChatGPT prompt, that kind of thing. Same underlying intelligence, completely different relationship. You type a prompt. You get one answer back. Good answer, probably. But now you have to read it, figure out what to ask next. Type another prompt, get another answer. Every single step requires you to show up and drive. You are the loop. Prompt, response, prompt, response. That exhaustion you're feeling just looking at it. The AI is just autocomplete with better vocabulary. You hand off a goal, one clear ticket. The agent takes it from there. It plans the subtasks, writes the code, runs the tests, reads the error output, fixes the bug, loops back on its own until the job is done. Then it surfaces the result for you to review. You gave it a destination. It figured out the route. AI acts autonomously across multiple steps. From AI that responds to AI that acts. That's not a small improvement. That's a different way of working entirely. Let's pull back the curtain and look at exactly what's happening under the hood. At the center of every agentic workflow is a loop. First comes plan. The agent reads your goal and breaks it into concrete steps. Then comes act. The agent doesn't just generate text, it uses real tools. See these icons around the outside. A terminal for running shell commands. The file system for reading and writing code. A test runner. A package manager. And external APIs. Then comes observe. Feeds that back into the next plan. That's one full loop iteration. Each iteration is one agent step. Say you ask an agent, add JWT authentication to this Express app. It reads the codebase, installs the JWT library, writes the middleware, injects it into the routes, then writes a test and runs it. Watch that progress bar move. Each loop iteration pushes it closer to auth working. The test fails, the agent patches it, runs again, it passes. Every single one of those steps was one iteration of the same plan, act, observe cycle. Tools like Devin, Cursor Agent, and Claude's computer use are all built on this exact same loop. One touchpoint at the very beginning, the goal. One at the very end, the review. That's delegation. The cost equation for developers has fundamentally changed. Here's a simple graph that captures the whole argument. On the vertical axis, developer time and mental energy required. On the horizontal axis, the complexity of a task, measured by the number of substeps involved. That line climbs steeply. Every additional substep means another prompt, another context switch. Manual plus Copilot. Cost scales with substeps. Now let's plot the agentic workflow. That line is nearly flat. Agentic workflow. Cost stays nearly fixed. The space between these two lines, that's the efficiency gap. And it gets wider the more complex your task becomes. The efficiency gap. Notice where both lines start at the origin. At zero complexity, the approaches are roughly equivalent. Here's the intern label from scene 2 sitting on that steep line. And here's the contractor on the flat one. Same workplace analogy, now expressed mathematically. Your cognitive cost used to scale linearly. With agentic workflows, it's nearly constant. Developers adopting agentic workflows are attempting tasks they would have quietly skipped before. Your role just changed. Here's that split screen from the beginning. On the left, your calendar. On the right, Copilot finishing your sentences. Watch what happens to the left side. That calendar shrinks. It collapses down to just two things. Write a clear goal and review the output. That autocomplete doesn't just finish a line. It expands into the full plan act observe loop. Write a clear goal, review the output. The agent plans the approach, executes across tools, checks its own results, and keeps going autonomously. A completed pull request, not a single line written manually. That's the structural shift. Single-shot AI made you a faster typist. Agentic AI makes you a goal setter. The skill of execution shifts to direction and critical review. The flat cost curve, delegating whole tasks, not just typing less. Are you leading this shift or still catching up to it?